everybody. I am so pleased to be able to have this interview with Arun Kumar. Arun Kumar, Chairman and CEO KPMG in India, is an accomplished global executive with experience spanning multiple sectors from high technology to government and many geographies from the Silicon Valley to India. Prior to his current role, Kumar served in a sub-cabinet position in the Obama administration as the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Global Matters and Director General of the US and Foreign Commercial Service. He oversaw a team located in 78 countries and all the 50 states of the US, led trade missions, engaged in commercial diplomacy and advocacy worldwide on behalf of the US government and industry. But before his tenure in public service, Kumar was a partner and member of the board of directors at KPMG LLP. He led the firm's West Coast management consulting practice, serving major global clients as well as emerging Silicon Valley ventures. Previously, Arun Kumar was a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, as often they are, founding CEO and CFO of 3 technology ventures. Over the years, he's been a mentor and advisor to a number of new ventures in Silicon Valley and India. Arun Kumar is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations in New York. He chairs the India Advisory Council of the US-India Business Council, and he was also an early charter member of the Thai Silicon Valley, and he's been associated with Thai in the US and India. And if that's not enough, Arun Kumar has authored 2 books of poetry, Plain Truths, 2010, and Mantram Beach in 2020. He's also co-edited a book, Kerala's Economy, Crouching Tiger, Sacred Cows in 2007. But for me, all of these incredible accomplishments also sit alongside that Arun Kumar has a wonderful friend of mine, and I've known him for over 30 years. So I'm really thrilled to be able to do this interview with my old friend. I last met Arun in a very formal capacity when Arun was launching his book, Mantram Beach. But today's conversation is not about poetry, but we're going to be talking about Arun's thoughts on how an organization can grow in the COVID world. So we've aptly called our webinar, Accelerating in the COVID World. Arun, thank you so very much for taking the time to make this important conversation with me today.
Smita, great to be with you. Really great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So accelerating in the COVID period, that's what we're calling it. So I want to start by just exploring your ideas and thoughts about the kind of challenges that you would have faced, Arun. So the impact of the pandemic was felt by all the businesses all over the world. I mean, this was a new world order we were going through.
Right.
What were some of the immediate steps that you had to take in March 2020 as the leader to ensure that there were no business implications?
So this came about, very suddenly. All of us around the world had to react to this really unprecedented event. The last time something like this happened was a century ago. So it's new to all of us. So the first thing we had to do was to think about keeping our people safe. That was our number one priority. How do we keep our people safe? And how do we also continue our business? How do we serve our clients who depend on us in so many different ways? So one of the things we did very early was to announce a work from home policy. I think we were, in our industry, the first to do that. And virtually overnight, very, very rapidly, we transitioned some 27,000 people in this country, in our firm, to a remote working model. So which meant having the right IT support, the collaboration support. So we did that. That was in terms of work. But in terms of people, we created a crisis management team. Like a dozen of our people were in that team. And that team met every day. And they continue to meet every night to see what's going on. Are there any new issues that need to be addressed? And the safety and health of our people, as I said, was foremost. And therefore, they were involved in various kinds of ways to help our people. During the second wave, that happened in April this year, they were involved in sourcing hospital beds, oxygen concentrators, oxygen cylinders, medicines, literally making sure that our people and often their families as well were attended to. So a lot of work by the crisis management team and hundreds of others who then created volunteer teams in multiple offices to support our people. So our decision was safety and health first. Let's get behind that. Let's also make sure that we don't disrupt our business, because we don't have a business, we can't support our people. So we managed to do both of those. Yeah, and a big decision we made early was that we would not lay off anybody on account of the pandemic. And looking back, it looks easy, but at that time it was not, because you had no idea how deep this abyss was that you were looking into. How would we get across the other side? There was no prior roadmap. But we decided that we've got thousands of people here who in turn have, in their families. When you add that up, you could easily think of a social and economic web of maybe 100,000 people. And any job loss would have an impact on not just one person's well-being, but on family's well-being.
Naturally.
So our focus was, let's not lay anybody off on account of the pandemic. And we are really, really proud of that.
I bet you are. Because, I mean, it's heartwarming to hear the kind of things you're saying, Arun. You're talking about safety, you're talking about family, you're not talking about this single person being employed at KPMG. You're talking about not getting rid of anybody's jobs. But were there any kind of initial roadblocks that kind of came, no matter how hard you were trying? You must have had other issues as well, though. Because right now, I think you're in a good situation. But to get to this situation, 18, 20 months later,
right.
Any challenges?
There were challenges, like many clients did want us to be there physically. So actually a lot of our people were at client sites at considerable risk to themselves and their families. Many of our government clients were actually going to work. Many of our financial sector clients were actually going to work. So we had to serve them, so we were there. But I also want to touch on another thing that we did, which frankly, when I think about it, is important, is that we knew this was a major national crisis, and we've got thousands of very smart people. So we offered to our central government and to other governments in India, state governments, but certainly to the central government, that we would be willing to provide them with some capacity to address critical issues. So, for example, we provided literally pro bono support in some ministries, like the Ministry of Health, to manage the COVID war room, in the ministry, in the group that was formed to look at logistics, unblock the logistics issues that happened in the country. So we provided services to many of them, and once we did that, then we've actually had a continuing engagement with them to help work through many of these issues. But we brought skills in data analytics, healthcare knowledge, artificial intelligence, to look at how to track and manage the disease. So that's another part.
Because that's remarkable. But then I can't help but think, here you are, you're an organization who obviously is growing and wants to continue to grow, and you're offering your services pro bono. So how do you manage the two and still have a path for growth?
Well, pro bono was up for the period of the crisis. Afterwards, they would have to figure out how to.
Technically, the crisis hasn't gone away, has it? Or has it?
But that was the moment in the initial few weeks that people had to get their hands around it. But over time, people do get organized, and then we've also kept engaged in multiple ways. But the important thing was to say, look, we are here to help, and oftentimes they would say, well, can your people be here this afternoon? And they would be there that afternoon. So putting our brain power to help was something that we feel very, very proud about, because we did that at the right time. As the crisis evolved, we also helped our clients commercially. There were new sets of issues. First of all, digitization. Everything became digital. So helping our clients move to working digitally meant a lot of ways of assisting them. Some clients had stress in terms of cash management and working capital or cost structures. We helped them with those kinds of things. And then other clients were looking at changing their business models. So we essentially engaged with clients to cater to the new demands that they had to cope and address the COVID crisis.
Could you possibly give us an example of that? When somebody's completely changing business models because of what's happening, was there something that you did within KPMG as well?
For example, when companies want to manage their costs, they may decide to focus their resources on their core services and get somebody else to do everything else, what's called managed services. So we started providing managed services to a number of clients in areas like accounting and finance, etc. So that was an offering we had, but we stepped up the focus on that. And that was, the right offering for the right time, because then clients don't have to invest in all that. They could leave it to us to manage all of that.
Right. And for what about within KPMG itself? Did you need to, because obviously your organization is supporting other people to grow, but at the same time you're growing. So what were your plans of accelerated growth within the company that you had, say, I'm making up a date, say November 2019, and now we're in April 2020 or June or whichever month you like, and you've completely had to change everything. Could you share a story around that perhaps?
So we organized to meet the new needs. So we put all our technology resources together and focused that to address clients' needs for technology and digital transformation. We put all our managed services folks together to serve companies that needed managed service help. So we kind of reorganized to meet the new demands. That was a major step that we took.
And what else do you think you can do? Because as I was saying earlier, tough times are still here. I hope there is no third wave in India. People are mumbling around. I can hear it in the air that come winter there might be a third wave. So what do you do? What does KPMG do to continue to grow under these very strange times?
So coming back to the health and safety, we've helped organize vaccinations in various offices for our people. And
are they all mostly double jab now? Is that what you're saying?
But not all, but quite a lot.
Fabulous.
So today, if you're double jabbed, you can come into the office.
Brilliant.
So we've opened our offices as of September 1, encouraging people, not forcing, just encouraging people to come back. So we're doing all that. We're also paying attention to the human aspects, the stress aspects. In our business, it's actually a high-touch business. We benefit by people coming together, either within as teams in the firm or with our clients. So today with remote working, we lose a lot of that human energy. So we're trying to get that back. At the same time, we don't want to get that back. We don't want to overdo it and put people under stress to come into the office. So hopefully
it's a tough one, isn't it, Arun? Because in this whole idea of hybrid workplace, which is what we're all talking about all over the world. And then alongside that, we're talking about the culture of an organization and the work culture evolving alongside what they loved, for want of a better word, coming into the office, face-to-face interaction, yet frightened because they haven't been jabbed, they don't want to get sick. How do you balance all this? How do you see things changing in terms of culture? Are you just taking it a day at a time? Or are you planning it's always going to be hybrid?
Well, one is to not rush into things, to think it through carefully.
Yeah.
We do think that eventually it'll be a hybrid model. There's a lot of advantage for not having to be in transit every day to save that time. At the same time, if you blur the boundaries between work and home too much, that causes a different kind of stress. So we will be working towards finding the right model. We also found that a lot of our folks went back to their homes. So people working, for example, in Bombay, many of them, they went all the way back to all over the country, to Jammu, to the northeast, to the south. And now they're leaving their homes. Will they all come back, or would they prefer to work from where they are? How feasible is that?
And also in terms of working from home, Arun, has it in any way lessened the productivity, do you think, for the organization, for KPMG?
Yeah, I don't think it has lessened the productivity. It might have taxed the morale a bit, because people working together have a different sense of energy. But I think we've been productive and people have been delivering good work. So I don't think we have an issue on that. Quality and productivity has been maintained. The downside when people have worked.
Yeah, I was going to say, you took the words out. So what is the downside then of this hybrid workplace?
The blurring, the non-stop. So what we've done is we've tried to create some stress relievers. Like last weekend, we just gave a 4-day weekend, essentially 2 paid holidays, so that around October 2nd, we could have a 4-day weekend. We've done that once before. So sometimes that's a small way to create a break. We said it should be a pens down weekend, no work during that weekend. So we're trying to do those kinds of things. We've also had all kinds of yoga and Zumba and meditation all that
Lovely.
via digitally. That's been going on. We've had counselors that have been made available to our people, and there have been actually hundreds of sessions that have been used.
I was going to ask you. That's very good to know. So people are taking up the offer of all the things that you're giving
correct.
them.
And talking about stress and how they get overwhelmed and how they can be work through it. We've also tried to enhance our technology. Everybody has Teams like Teams and Zoom and so forth. So, we're trying multiple approaches: technology, stress relievers, various sessions on yoga, meditation. All these things are a package.
Do we see you at any of these? At yoga and meditation, are you attending?
Not enough.
Are you helping all your colleagues and working non-stop 24/7 with no break?
I did take a break. I took a holiday 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah, no, because that's so important, isn't it? Because often what leaders tend to do is they're so busy supporting all their colleagues that they forget to take care of themselves, which I think is also important. It's very necessary, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so, you've given us so many examples in terms of how you're connecting with the employees and making sure that and so I suppose if you think about the vision and the values of KPMG, you're kind of following through with that, isn't it? In terms of how you're supporting your employees during COVID. I mean, is there any simple, any mantra, anything else that you kind of,
you touched the right thing. I think the vision and values, our values are very simply stated in 6 words: integrity, excellence, courage, and together, which means you work together for better, make a better world, better for each other. So those are the values that we've tried to live by, and particularly together, that we're all in this thing together. This pandemic has taught us that the whole world is in this thing together. No man is an island, as John Donne said. All part of the whole. So that's how we look at it.
No, I mean, and that actually is the perfect way to end this very short webinar that I'm having with you, Arun, because I think certainly what the message that you are sending out to our viewers is that if you can do it, anyone can do it, because it is really very much about, if I go back to the very first thing you said in my question to you, it is about the safety, it is about the humanity, it is about the connection of that one person and that person's family. Because that person has got all kinds of other people that he's connected to or she's connected to. And then when we start thinking about that, it connects with your values of integrity and togetherness and all of that. So I suppose if you make one man happy, then everyone gets happy and the company grows. And that's a simple tool for accelerated growth.
Right. Make each other happy.
Make each other happy. On that note, Arun Kumar, thank you so very much for giving your time.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.